We are honored this afternoon to have with us here on Ed 190 at the 35th Durban International Film Festival, the filmmaker and director of the documentary film Soft Vengeance, the story of Judge Albie Sachs, Abby Ginsberg, as well as Judge Albie Sachs himself, talking about this beautiful story that is set against, I guess, a backdrop that is rather unfortunate. Yet, out of it, as Bishop Desmond Tutu said, you could have been full of vengeance. You could have been angry. You could have done a whole range of things. But you decided you're going to rebuild South Africa. When you came back to South Africa, what did you have in mind? How do you think it was going to play out?
First of all, it was after 24 years, and it was fantastic to be back on my own soil, in my own country, with my own people. And it was also fantastic to be spending my life building, because we spent our lives destroying apartheid, a wicked, horrible system. And all your energy goes into denouncing. And we want to heal, most of us. Some people couldn't. They had to carry on as critics, and they still do a good job. But many of us wanted to build, to heal, to nurture, to imagine. And now was the chance to imagine a new constitution, to imagine human dignity being at the core of everything that we were doing, to build up the institutions, to develop a culture based on Ubuntu. We didn't use the word Ubuntu in those days, but it just kind of slipped in, and it just became so powerful, so explanatory. I'm a person because you're a person.
Yes.
I can't separate my humanity from acknowledging your humanity. Ubuntu. We are united and we are diverse at the same time. I respect you for who you are. You don't have to be like me. I don't have to be like you, but we can share that sense of common humanity. And it was really marvelous to see that becoming at least the point of reference, not always the point of practice, but the point of reference for our constitutional order and for many, many people who could never have dreamt of it before.
It is heralded all over the world as the best constitution ever put together. When you look back 20 years into our democracy now, do you still, are you still as optimistic about South Africa as you were then?
I have huge pride in what we've achieved. The racists used to say, one man, one vote, once.
Yeah.
And we've had it 5 times. And people come from all over the world to see our elections. They're free and fair. And we have presidents who step down, not after 39 years, 37 years, after 5 years or 9 years or maximum of 10 years. And that's just normal, it's standard. We have a very lively free press. We have people who phone into the radio, they denounce the government, they support the government, they denounce faith organizations, they support them, people speak their minds. So we've got our freedom. It's a very, very open society. What we haven't got our security as much as we want. There's still too much crime and violence, and we haven't got full equality. We're still far from that. There's still fractures in our society, still based on race, but we've got the instruments to get there. We've got the freedom to move, to change, to bring about the changes we want. We've got a very lively artistic scene, as this tremendous film festival shows.
Yes.
Before we used to ban films in South Africa. Now we exhibit films in South Africa.
Abby, let's talk about the film festival itself and your experience so far. What were the films that you were looking forward to seeing?
You know, I mean, one of the things that happens to every filmmaker at a film festival is they never see as many films as they want to see.
Indeed.
But I've been, you know, but let me talk about a couple of films that I did get to see. I saw Miners Shut Down at Encounters. I didn't see it here, but Albie saw it here. I think that's an extremely powerful, very important film by Rahad Desai, all about the story of the Marikana miners.
Yeah.
I also saw, I think it's Nelson Mandela and Me, or The Man and the Myth. And that's an important film because it speaks to what it means to unpack everything that everybody places on Nelson Mandela, and in some ways to re-empower people to take the future into their own hands. And it's a very thoughtful, I think, elegiac film by Kalo Matabane, and I really appreciated it. And then I saw, you know, The Snake Who Gave Birth to a Snake, which I think is part of this program. And What I would say about that is that it really brings you into the TRC. That's why I was saying our film doesn't really do that in quite the same way. And by using drama as a way to deal with the conflicts that the translators at the TRC experienced, they've done something quite deep, quite emotional, and quite brilliant in my book. Those are the films, and then I saw the opening night film, which tells you that there is a great deal of talent headed to Hollywood straight out of South Africa until Hollywood comes to South Africa. That film demonstrated just a lot of, kind of charisma. Young people loved it. I'm a little bit old for that much violence, but it was very well received, and that film was called Hard to Get.
And all those will be screened on a Thursday here on Ed 190 on DSTV, as well as on Channel 65 Go TV. So all three that Abby has mentioned will be screened here for the very first time. It's never happened before, bringing the festival straight to your home. Now, the film has been well received overseas as well. Tell us about some of the awards. In North Carolina, it was awarded.
No, in North Carolina, we opened. That was at the
Yeah,
Full Frame
that was the opening, yeah.
Festival. One of the real honors for me was that we won the Audience Award at Encounters in Cape Town for the best international documentary. So that says that South Africans liked the film enough to give it the Audience Award. So that had great meaning to me. We also won the Audience Award at something called the Vancouver South African Film Festival. So audiences have sort of stood up for this film, which makes me very happy and proud. And, what I was saying is that I wasn't sure how the film would resonate in South Africa till I brought it here. So it was a little bit of a mystery, and I have to say I'm extremely grateful that South African audiences find meaning in this film that I spent 5 years making.
As we're recovering from the Marikana massacre, what are the lessons, I guess, one would want to learn from your situation, particularly those affected by the situation in Marikana?
But a massacre is a massacre, and it's dreadful, and it requires a huge amount of self-examination in South Africa. We've got the Commission of Inquiry, but we've got to go beyond just what the Commission's going to report. Each one of us has got to think, what's going on? How can we prevent these things from happening? Because that's not the way to go at all. That's not the way to go at all. For the families, each one has to find their own way forward. And maybe it's not a consolation, but workers are being recognized now in a way that maybe they weren't recognized before. The claims and demands are being treated with a seriousness that maybe didn't happen before. It's a terrible sacrifice to make, but it's like saying, we produce the platinum, we produce the gold, we produce the coal, don't forget us. We fought for freedom in South Africa, don't forget us. And I think that's been put on the agenda. It was a huge shock to the whole nation. That's one big difference from the past. In the past, there would be covers up and denials and repression and saying they asked for it. Now it's all being inquired about, but it was a tremendous shock to us. And I think there's no consolation for the families, but it is important for us to draw the hard lessons, to learn from them, and to make sure nothing like that happens again in South Africa.
Abby, would you do it all over again? Would you find another friend that you're going to tell a story of?
That's a good question. I mean, of course I would, because, I think of myself as a public educator, and a public educator about issues of justice. And so for me, what I look for in trying to find somebody who can be the subject of a film like that is somebody whose life tracks an important strand of history that maybe people don't know about. So I don't get drawn to the Mandelas to tell those stories. I'm looking for the person, that maybe I've heard of, but maybe other people haven't. So I'm always on the lookout for my next, subject. And this was a particularly warm collaboration that Albie and I had. I feel like it's been a really, it's just been a very successful process of getting this film made. And so I'm kind of energized by having done this film. And but again, the way you pick a film like this is a light bulb goes off and you say, can I spend the next 5 years of my life with this person's story?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, that's it.
That's it.
But if you say, I'm not sure, then maybe you're not going to do that story.
We are so honored to have you, and we wish you all the best with this film and any other ventures. Continue to tell the stories, hey, and particularly South African stories if you can. Judge Albie, like I said, you could have easily been consumed by hatred. You could have been consumed by the thought of revenge, as Bishop Desmond Tutu said, but you've helped build a vibrant
You know, if you're
South Africa.
consumed by hatred, hatred consumes you.
Yeah.
You can't get on with your life. So even apart from being kind or nice or generous or idealistic, it's actually good for you to get the hatred out and to find yourself in a space that's more embracing, more loving, more exposed to and responsive to the good things in life. And that's what our generation achieved, not just me personally.
Fantastic. Well, you can catch the documentary on Thursday, Soft Vengeance. It will be screened right here on channel 190. Oh, it's tonight, actually, I'm told, when it will be screened here on DSTV, channel 190 and channel 65 on Go TV. Soft Vengeance. And if you want to be part of the conversation and part of the discussion, the hashtag is Film Festival at Home on Twitter. That's how you get in touch. After the break, we are talking to the organizers of the festival, but also we are talking to AfriDocs to find out this world first, what inspired it, and what are they hoping to achieve with these documentaries throughout the week. Stay with us.